Hello again. I'm Joed, and welcome to the second part of this three-part retreat workshop: Relationship Detox, Practicing Curiosity, Courage, and Compassion to Nurture Life-Giving Relationships. This is brought to you by Millennial Tito Monk and YGoal Inc. The highlight of the first part was the relationship map quadrant. I hope it was helpful for you as you look back and see the life giving and life depleting relationships that you have in your life right now. I hope you were able to have a meaningful time reflecting after watching the video and doing the worksheets. If you missed the first part, please check out the link in the description of this video. Part 2 also begins with a brief presence practice, just like the first part. For those who have already finished part 1 and would like to join a small group for a soulful conversation, please send us a message so we can connect you to a group. For those who want to organize their own small group, that would be fine too. If you need guidance on how to do a soulful conversation, please stay on because there will be a short walkthrough on how it's done. But in any case, I highly recommend joining a small group to deepen your experience. After the brief presence practice and the soulful conversation, there will be a sharing on the three C's: curiosity, courage, and compassion. And then lastly, a reflection guide will also be provided. So let us begin with our brief presence practice. Be aware of what you are bringing to this space now. Breathe in, breathe out. Feel your whole self, your body, heart, and mind joining you in this very moment. You are here. You are present. We bring our awareness now to the relationships that called our attention, that became present to us when we were doing the worksheets in the first part. How do you feel about these relationships? What is arising in you just by remembering the relationships you've listed? In the silence of our hearts, let us read together this poem from Khalil Gibran. Let there be spaces in your togetherness, and let the winds of the heavens dance between you. Love one another, but make not a bond of love. Let it rather be a moving sea between the shores of your souls. Fill each other's cup, but drink not from one cup. Give one another of your bread, but eat not from the same loaf. Sing and dance together and be joyous, but let each one of you be alone, even as the strings of a lute are alone, though they quiver with the same music. Give your hearts, but not into each other's keeping, for only the hand of life can contain your hearts. And stand together, yet not too near together, For the pillars of the temple stand apart, and the oak tree and the cypress grow not in each other's shadow. Let us have a brief moment of silence just to take that in. You can pause this recording if you need more time to reflect on those words. Before diving into the three C's, I'd like to introduce a very simple way of doing soulful conversations. Others call this spiritual conversation, or perhaps another name. One of the most important things to remember are these three words that guide every soulful conversation: safe, intentional, sacred. Keeping soulful conversations safe means keeping everything confidential. Sharing our stories wholeheartedly can be very scary for many. Showing our vulnerabilities takes a lot of courage. We respond to this by making a solemn promise to keep those stories safe in our hearts. Another way of ensuring safety in soulful conversations is to remain silent when others are sharing. Do not cross-talk, make any comments, give advice, or ask any questions, no matter how well-meaning they are. There is no need to fix anything or save anyone. Being intentional in soulful conversations means coming in fully present to yourself and others. This means doing the preparations needed prior to the conversation. This also means having a sense of what you're being led to share when your time to speak comes. On the part of the listeners, being intentional might mean looking out for any word or phrases or images that might come up as a person is sharing and taking note of them. These notes will be helpful later on. And last, but most importantly, soulful conversations are sacred, and we intend to keep it that way. We hold each story with reverence. We celebrate the many ways the sacred moves in each person's life. An ideal group has 3 to 4 members only to keep the circle intimate. The first round starts with a moment of silence. A short meditation or mindfulness exercise is recommended. If it's the group's first time to meet, it can also include short introductions. After those preliminaries, each person is given 10 minutes to share. The general question can be, what is arising in me in relation to the activity and reflection questions? After each person's sharing, please spend a few seconds of silence just to make space for what was heard to land in everybody's consciousness. In round 2, each person is given 5 minutes for the sharing, and this time, the members of the group will share what resonated with them from the sharing they heard from others. This is where your notes can come handy. What words or phrases or images stayed with you? What spoke to you? In this round, you will talk about what's going on in you as you sit with those words, phrases, or images. An important reminder here is to stay with your experience. Just cite what you got from other people sharing and then ground it on your experience. Do not modify what people shared or make any comments or interpretations about what they said. Just mention what you got and go back to your own experience. After this round, the group might want to spend a few moments of silence again, perhaps listen to an appropriate song, or maybe talk about the next session, if applicable. Doing soulful conversations is pretty straightforward, but it needs practice and commitment. I hope this becomes a meaningful spiritual practice for you. Let's go through the three C's now: curiosity, courage, and compassion. How can we practice them in the context of our relationships? Please have your relationship maps and quadrants with you. It would be good to refer to those relationships from time to time as we go through the three C's. These practices can be applicable to both our life-giving and life-depleting relationships. Practicing these three C's can help us nurture the life-giving relationships that we have at the moment. We need more of those relationships so we can commit to taking care of them. Practicing these three C's can also help us transform some life-depleting relationships into life-giving ones, if we are invited to do so. Of course, we acknowledge that some life-depleting relationships are much complicated than that. In any case, this part of the retreat workshop does not aim to fix anything. These are not a set of solutions or remedies. Consider this sharing as an exploration on curiosity, courage, and compassion. How they can be applied in your context is entirely up to you. I stumbled upon this quote from one of Brené Brown's work. We're going to need to intentionally be with people who are different from us. We're going to have to sign up, join, and take a seat at the table. We're going to have to learn how to listen, have hard conversations, look for joy, share pain, and be more curious than defensive, all while seeking moments of togetherness. I think this accurately describes our lives in general, that we can expect to find ourselves in situations that are new and uncomfortable for us. Part of growing and maturing is exposing ourselves to experiences and relationships without assurances or guarantees that they will turn out well. When situations and relationships get tough, it might be useful to tap on curiosity rather than defensiveness. When we invite and welcome authenticity to the table, we are practicing curiosity. By opening ourselves up to the things we do not understand yet, we are practicing curiosity. When we ask honest questions without expecting to hear only the answers we want to hear, we are practicing curiosity. In the context of relationships, being curious might come in the form of asking honest and non-threatening questions. Tardiness was one of my pet peeves. Being late for a meeting or a get-together used to be a big deal for me. Many times, I called out people for showing up late. I did not care about why they were late. What mattered to me was they were late, period. That kind of mindset was challenged when a student showed up late for an activity. When I spoke to him, I learned he was late because his mother was sick and he had to be the one to prepare food for his siblings and drop them to school. Yes, he was late, but there was a story to tell. If only I was willing to listen. By practicing curiosity, we welcome stories unknown to us. By holding our judgments and strong emotions lightly while practicing curiosity, we can turn a heated argument into an honest conversation. Perhaps the next time your child comes home in dirty clothes, instead of the usually loaded, "What are you up to? Ano na namang ginawa mo?" It can be replaced with, "What happened? Tell me about your day." Now, it's too good to be true, right? But it can be transformative to many relationships. Maybe we can practice saying, "Can you tell me more?" instead of, "Why are you always like that?" Or, "What happened? I want to understand," instead of, "What's wrong with you?" Aren't we more honest when we are less defensive? Curiosity has the capacity to expand our hearts. When we make space for stories and answers we do not expect, we are teaching our hearts to make room for new discoveries. Our curiosity can lead us to knowing the other even deeper, even someone we have known and have been with for many, many years already. This openness is a permission for yourself and others to be genuine or authentic. It can open doors to more honest conversations and intimate relationships. It can even correct misconceptions, soften judgments, and create opportunities for relationships to grow and flourish. Become curious now. What is it about your relationships that really makes them life-giving or life-depleting? The answers might not be what you expect or what you prefer to come out. Make space for the scary, embarrassing, awkward answers anyway. One of the things I would like to highlight about courage is that it is allowing our essential self to be seen and known. The essential here does not mean necessary. Essential means the core, the very essence. Some may phrase this as true self or real self. Practicing courage is giving your essential self permission to speak and move. Your essential self is the self that is beyond your ego. It is not the mask you usually wear in public. Your essential self is who you truly are. Christians may call this the imago Dei, or the image of God. Buddhists call this the no self, which is unattached to anything. Some spiritual writers call this the point of nothingness, or the beloved, or simply the soul. Whatever your beliefs are, or whoever you follow, being aware of our essential self is crucial to any relationship. When we have the courage to be our essential self, we are able to establish healthy boundaries. We are clearer about what we believe is good for us and what is not. We can truly say yes to things we are really willing to welcome and say no to things that no longer work for us. Saying no can be good for your well being. When you say no to abusive relationships or toxic environments, you're saying yes to yourself. Notice what relationships remain when you start putting up boundaries. Pay attention to who stay when you start saying no more often. When we start practicing courage, we are not saying we are strong and we can do anything. When we practice courage, we are saying, hey, yes, I have a lot of strengths, but I'm also vulnerable. I have baggages, and I'm stepping forward to let you know that this is who I am. Notice how your relationships shift when you start doing this. Can the people around you meet your courage with their own courage? It also takes courage to embrace joy. We become so accustomed to pain and challenges that we anticipate them, even in moments when we are invited to become joyful. I know a lot of people who, in the middle of an amazing time with friends, would pause and say, wait, I can't be too happy. Something bad will happen. Or some who, after receiving an award or a promotion, would stop and say, if I'm happy now, for sure a disaster is about to happen. We sometimes rob ourselves of the opportunity to be happy. Sometimes we even sabotage ourselves. What does this do to us in our relationships? And how can courage help us overcome this? Embracing joy may come in the form of breaking patterns or habits that no longer serve us. In this Facebook post, the author said, last night I promised myself better days. I know I deserve good things in life. I'm forgiving myself for not becoming the person I always dreamed to be. I learned that some things just stay broken, no matter how hard we try to fix them. I thought happiness is something you chase in life, but it isn't. It's something you choose. I've gone tired of choosing the same things and the same people over the ones who really matter. Practicing courage can come as noticing a pattern and making a choice. When you look at the life depleting relationships you enumerated, do you see a pattern? Is there any invitation to make it better? Can you practice courage today by searching your heart and discovering what your deepest desires are? In Ron Rolheiser's book, The Holy Longing, he said that desire can show itself as aching pain or delicious hope. What we do with our longings in terms of handling the pain and hope they bring us, that is our spirituality. Practicing courage is practicing our spirituality. How does your spirituality look like now? How can practicing courage be helpful for you as you name these deep desires, as you allow yourself to be joyful? Lao Tzu said this about compassion. A man that is compassionate can be truly brave. Is this true for you? Think of the people in your life that you consider to be brave. Could compassion be an underlying current there? In order to practice compassion, we need to first and foremost acknowledge our connectedness. I cannot practice compassion toward somebody or even towards myself if I do not feel connected? What are the causes you're supporting or your advocacies at this moment? Where is that drive coming from? If you search within, you will see that it's this deep connection to this cause or advocacy that's really driving you to be on it. Practicing compassion requires an acknowledgement of our connectedness with another. According to Brené Brown, when we're looking for compassion, we need someone who is deeply rooted, able to bend, and most of all, we need someone who embraces us for our strengths and struggles. We need to honor our struggle by sharing it with someone who has earned the right to hear it. When we're looking for compassion, it's about connecting with the right person at the right time about the right issue. The word compassion is derived from the Latin words that literally mean to suffer with, but also maybe to laugh with, cry with, celebrate with, dream with, walk with, be with. Go back to your relationship map and quadrant. Who are you choosing to suffer with, to laugh with, to cry with, to celebrate with, and so on? And who among those choose you to be with? Practicing compassion can lead to finding your soul friends or soul companions. If we commit to extending compassion to others, we can develop deep and lasting relationships rooted in genuine connection and common desires. A soul friend, or what the Celtics would call anamkara, are people with whom we can connect spiritually. They can accompany us as we do the sacred task of finding who we truly are. According to Thomas Merton, another spiritual writer, a soul friend helps you penetrate beneath the surface of your life, get behind the facade, and bring out your inner spiritual freedom, your inmost truth. Soul friends are not necessarily healers, although they provide an environment for healing. Soul friends are not necessarily counselors or therapists, although some of them also take those roles. But more than anything, a soul friend offers real presence. Do you have relationships like that can hold you safely? Relationships that offer real presence. People who are comfortable with silence without needing to speak any word. Realizing we are all connected by something greater and higher than ourselves can put things in perspective. What can this realization do to your life-giving and life-depleting relationships? So we just went through the three C's: curiosity, courage, and compassion. That was not definitely an exhaustive exploration of what those three C's are, but I hope that you were able to get something out of it. Now, just like what I said earlier, we can explore all we want, but the real life application will be entirely up to you. And I leave you with this reflection question: how can I concretely practice curiosity, courage, and compassion in the next 7 days? Again, how can I concretely practice curiosity, courage, and compassion in the next 7 days? I have underlined here two phrases. One is concretely practice, and this means writing down some plans, on how you can really practice curiosity, courage, and compassion. I would invite you to start small, to consider your context, to consider where you are and what you can do at the moment. But whatever it is, no matter how small, if you feel that it's a way for you to practice those three C's, list them down. Another important phrase that I've underlined is in the next 7 days. I know this might be too tight for many, but consider this as a challenge. If you're going to set aside the following 7 days or the following week for you to practice curiosity, courage, and compassion, how might your week look like? And maybe if you like what you see, maybe you can extend it to another 7 days, or maybe a month, or maybe for the rest of the year. You might be surprised. These are just a few reminders for your reflection time. Be discerning on how you spend the next hours after listening to this. Remember, your commitment is to yourself more than to anybody or anything. This is your sacred time. Do not try to squeeze out an insight or a reflection that is not coming out naturally. You're not here to come up with a quotable quote. I invite you to focus more on having a posture of openness, of patiently listening to what is arising in you. This involves listening to the small, still voice in the depths of your heart, paying attention to your inner stirring. What is really happening in me? How is my body reacting right now? Please resist judging yourself in the process. If your body tells you that it needs some rest, go to sleep or take a relaxing walk outside. If you want to be a little silly and dance as you do your reflection, let it out. You can be as creative as you want to be. Thinking about doing an artwork, go for it. Resist the temptation of saying no to yourself because you feel you're not good enough, or not creative enough, or simply not enough. Go ahead and trust the process. Pay attention to invitations. By invitations, I mean the movements you notice as you reflect. If you imagine yourself in a river and you are floating, where is the river carrying you? Which direction do you sense you're being led to? An invitation can be a call to action or a call to be still. It can be an invitation to see things in a new perspective or try something new. And since these are invitations, you're free to say yes or no to them. If you have any questions at all, please do not hesitate to reach out. And again, if you want to be part of a small group where you can share your reflection and listen to others' reflections too, please send a message so we can find a small group for you. Thank you. Stay safe and have a meaningful time.